You are Fritz Smith, a security guard who went missing in November 1987. In the same week, 5 children disappeared from the premises of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. You're a prime suspect, and a search is underway. Little do they know, you've never left the premises. Trapped in a cramped crawl space underneath the parts and services room, where you'll face the most harrowing nights of your pitiful life. Welcome to Crawlspace Insanity Remastered by the Trilogy Collective, the first game in the Slumber Trilogy, which is a reboot of the original Insanity Trilogy, which started in 2015. Now, as you may have seen from the title, we're doing things a little bit differently with this one. Frankly, there's a lot to tackle in this game. My initial idea for this video was to include everything in Crawlspace at once, but I wasn't happy with how the script turned out in the end. It felt as though everything was kind of all over the place, there was no direction. On top of that, this is my biggest undertaking of a story breakdown by far, especially with the amount of speculation there is surrounding the game currently. As such, this is my understanding of the game so far, and is subject to change. For this video, I'll be focusing on the perspective of our protagonist, Fritz Smith. Besides everything that's included within the game, I'll also be using the game's community wiki as an additional source. Our story begins the moment we were trapped in the crawlspace, approached by one of the game's overarching antagonists, Molten Evil, also known as Julie Wright, mother to Peter and John Wright. In 1979, she was killed by her husband Alex Wright and buried with the help of her son Peter. In the grave, she met an entity named Insanity, who offered her devastating power in exchange for her soul. A deal that Insanity will come to regret greatly, and thus she became Molten Evil, and now she's set her eyes on Fritz. Molten Evil's intro is far from pleasant. She taunts you for failing to save them, and will do everything in her power to ensure you don't forget that, and will live for as long as possible. Welcome to Insanity. You wake up and look around. It's clearly Freddy's, but the restaurant looks to be in a much worse state than you remember. Then there's the animatronics, these monstrous creations that couldn't possibly be the toy-like characters of today. Even their withered counterparts look better in comparison. The phone's been ringing. You should pick it up.
Quickly, we've already started. There's not much time. You remember where you are, don't you? They're already coming for you. Use your flashlight, but don't drain too much of your battery. If you see one in the vault, hide away in your camera and hear them leave. Remember, it never worked on Foxy. You've got to flicker the light on and off until he goes away. I know why everything looks different than it used to, but I can't tell you right now. You remember who you are, don't you? You can still save them, but you have to save yourself.
You're not sure what's going on, but if you want to survive, listen to her instructions. Keep the battery from draining fully. It takes a while to reboot. Throughout the night, you will gradually start seeing more and more hallucinations of Freddy and this metal jaw monster. Alright, we should really start moving on to what's happening to the game. This isn't supposed to happen. Maybe it got buggy again. I don't understand why what the hell? Oh no, what's going on? Prelude is either too corrupted or was modified too significantly to continue running. Would you like to enter crawlspace.exe? Sorry about the technical difficulties. I had to get that other guy out of there. I don't know where they came from. They weren't even really showing the right game. Welcome to Crawlspace Insanity Remastered. When you start a new game, you will get one of 3 phone guys. Yourself,
Hey Fritz, it's me.
Peter,
Hello, hello. Hey Fritz, it's Peter.
or Garvey.
Hey Fritz, Peter asked me to give you a call to make sure you knew what you were doing for the night.
Why are there multiple phone guys? Who's the real one? Are any of them real? All valid questions. I think these 3 phone guys are in fact one individual, someone we've already heard from. Now, in my first playthrough, I got Fritz as my phone guy, so I'll focus on his calls first throughout all the nights and compare with the other phone guys after. On night 1, Fritz makes it clear who they are, where you are, and proceeds to guilt you about how you could have saved them.
What's going on above you is something you could have stopped. You could have saved them. You saw their corpses, but you ran away. And he caught you. Something you'll have to worry about later is that panel over on your right. That's the Deep Zero panel. That's the name of this place.
You saw their corpses but ran away and got caught. As for where you are, while it may look like Freddy's, he calls this place Deep Zero. He then tells you how to deal with Bonnie and gives you one final piece of advice.
Fritz, I can't help you forever. At some point, you need to start helping.
Now, in the Deep, the power management is rather similar to what we experienced earlier, where you don't want to be on camera for too long or expend it with the flashlight. Bonnie will attack via the left and right vents by sending his little friend through. If you see it crawling in the vent, shut it until he's gone. Besides that, there's one thing that you have to do. Flip. The Deep panel on the right constantly measures stability and sanity. By default, the environment's stability will decrease, and will only increase if you flip, at the cost of your sanity. You must balance the two for the entirety of the night. By far, this is one of the most unexpected yet oddly exciting mechanics I've seen. While simple in concept, it demands you really start from scratch in a sense, right? Working against your inner nature when it comes to using a computer, and can lead to some very tense moments when caught at the worst of times when flipped. It's certainly become a big topic for discussion regarding this game, but I ended up liking it. Luckily for us, the vertical flip that was added in a future update was only for custom night. After each night, it'll be time to rise. But stay still, you won't like what's out there. A minigame plays where you are a bear with a top hat holding a cupcake trapped within a room. As far as I've seen, there is no escape. It's not time yet. Afterwards, you wake up in the Crawlspace, trapped within a suit, forced to listen to the everyday conversations of your coworkers, unaware you're right beneath them. On top of that, you're haunted by the angels, decayed aberrations of the toy animatronics. I think the guilt's getting to you. The first angel is Bonnie, who will appear on your left side. You must hold your breath until they leave. Today you overhear a conversation between Garvey and Jeremy, and it seems they're quite close. The conversation turns a bit sour, however, when Jeremy brings up Garvey's recording sessions in the basement, something Garvey would prefer be kept private. Eventually they leave, and another conversation between employees Anthony and Kane Pell begins, talking about a death that happened years ago. Eventually, you go back to sleep, waking up in the same hell you had just briefly escaped. Tonight, Fritz informs you of Foxy and Chica, and says we're one day closer now. When Chica starts to wail and scream across the establishment, you must find her among a few of the cameras and play the alarm until she stops. She can still move while screaming, so be prepared to follow her through the cameras just in case. Foxy, on the other hand, will head near the right vent, where you must flash him in order to scare him off. After waking up once again, you must now contend with Angel Chica. Shut your eyes until she leaves. Above you, Detective Copeland and Officer Swartz are considering potential suspects behind the kids' disappearances after one of the fathers attacked Peter yesterday. One prime suspect is the janitor, Colin, who has a history with the brand, being present at Cake Bears when the very first victim, Tom, was found dead. The other suspect is you, Fritz, who was medicated and prone to having mental episodes at the time of hiring. Back to sleep you go. On night 3, Freddy and the puppet will now be active. Freddy will try and permanently knock out your power via one of the 2 cameras with generators. You'll hear sirens when Freddy is attacking it. In order to get rid of him, you must solve a matching game based on whether he's wearing his top hat or not. If he's wearing his hat, match all of the colors properly. If he's not, match a color incorrectly. This variation is pretty easy since you don't need to mismatch every color. As for the puppet, you must force a power outage whenever it appears in your office, which can easily be done using the flash on Foxy's vent camera. This is the only exception where the power will immediately turn back on after it goes out. On top of that, Fritz warns you that Foxy, Bonnie, and Chica will get new mechanics soon, so they aren't present tonight. Looks like he wanted to give you a heads up. Foxy will soon be able to appear in the hallway. Flash your light at him like normal. If Bonnie appears in the hallway, you must first flip, then turn off the fan. Finally, for Chica, she'll head to the cameras outside the vents. To be specific, however, if you are already flipped when Bonnie shows up in the hallway, you can just turn off the fan. Finally, for Chica, she'll head to the cameras outside the vents, indicated by her breathing. If she's spotted there, play the alarm until she leaves. On the 3rd day, Angel Foxy will be out of your sight, but you'll hear this slight clicking sound. If you hear this, blink your eyes rapidly until it stops. You hear Colin and Peter get into an argument after Colin confesses his desire to leave town.
I need to ditch Concord. Wait, what? This is confusing to you. Pigs don't like me. You know that. Yeah? I know that better than anyone. Well then, it's surely been a fun shit show and a dream come true. Have a nice fucking life. All of you. If there's something you wanted to tell me all this time, and trust me, I love to see us, spit it out. Or forever hold your peace. I gave you this. If you leave today, always remember I gave you this. Nobody will hire you. Nobody will hire you. When me and my dad found you, you were essentially homeless. And everyone, the first person to help me do this should have been you. I knew it. I fucking knew it! You stuck-up piece of shit! I should have known! I should have known years ago that you saw me as some criminal beginner, like everyone else! You did it all the same! Prick! Just like your father! Are you gonna have a kid someday? Me? The guilt will eat you alive. You'll think every day. When will it happen to them? Leave, Colin. You wanna go, then go. What? So what kind of wait till I let you live? I could take you every time. You tell me, where you going? You won't tell anyone either. You know, wait.
Just what did Peter ask of Colin to warrant such a reaction? On night 4, those secondary mechanics Fritz brought up start to occur. On top of that, there's now the Red Room, with the one Fritz calls the Killer, and his old friend Fredbear. For Spring Bonnie, you need to use the sirens if they start to get up from their spot. For Fredbear, shut off the fan when he appears in the hallway. Despite the progress you've made thus far,
Nothing about your situation has changed, Fritz. You're still just as trapped as me.
you wake up once again and must now contend with Angel Freddy, who will appear right on top of you. You must play dead until he leaves, so no holding your breath or blinking. Meanwhile, an argument between Garvey and Peter heats up, revealing that not only is Garvey responsible for the missing children, but Peter is involved in the cover-up.
Why by any stretch of the fucking imagination would this be my responsibility? I didn't mean either way. Offend me, ruin my business, drag me down to your level. I dragged you down. Really? If I'm not mistaken, you're the one that decided to keep this shit going. You think I had a choice in this? You think that I wanted my life to turn out like this? Alex fucking left. I had to beg and plead on investors and I'll pull the rug on the whole project if it happened again. Wait, no. The security cameras? The security cameras, the fucking footage. When? Before they died. Okay. Good. Did anyone else see you? No. Are you sure? This is important. Yes, I'm sure. You fucking promised me that Maria was the last one. Don't even say that. I think you fucking blame me for your actions. Not bullshit. Just go. I don't think you understand the gravity of our situation here. This isn't just some loose end. You can cleanly sleep under the blanket. You murdered. I don't even want to think about it. It makes me fucking sick. I don't know what this is. Garvin, I need you to be honest. For once in your life, just please be honest with me. Is there anything else I need to know about? I told you everything, Peter. But I swear to God, if you screw me on this, I will not help you out. It won't come to you.
Garvey mentioned handling security footage before, quote, they got it. It makes me wonder whether this could have been the same night that Fritz went missing. As for the child, Maria, their name is nowhere to be found in the wiki, unlike the other children who went missing. When you go back to sleep, things take a turn for the worse, as Fritz warns you about the entity that is arriving tonight.
He's coming. I've known for so long that this day would be the day he decides to ruin my fun. You'll remember him, or maybe you won't. If you do, don't let the surprise cloud your judgment. He wants to harm you. He wants to take you from me. When it appears, sound that alarm as long as you can. If he gets too close, flash him, and flash him until I can pull you out. It'll be okay. You're with me.
At first, the night goes on like normal, but at 4 a.m., 2 entities arrive. The yellow bear that you first met during Insanity, along with an entity depicted by a skull encased in a metal jaw and teeth, with 2 heads protruding from its arms. Struggling to keep the entities at bay, you eventually falter, with the bear attacking you. However, you manage to wake up. After being unable to leave this room every night, the door finally opens, and you walk down the hallway. As you walk down the hallway, you start to transform into a more detailed version of the animatronic suit, and eventually find a more deteriorated version of the same suit, as it speaks to you.
I'm glad you came all this way to see me, Fritz. I thought you'd forgotten about me. I think you realize I'm not truly your friend, but I have no reason to lie anymore. I never did. It's out of control. Things used to be so much simpler. I never had to lie. I could just exist. Now look at what I've gone and done. Inviting her in and trusting her to respect what I've wanted, what I've already done. If they're a human being, a human conscious, they can never be truly trusted. I guess you already understand that after what that man did to you. You were destined to die. For so long you've been destined to die. We were all just waiting for it. We weren't even excited. We weren't scared. We just knew. Aren't you tired of this? Hasn't it gotten old? It feels like it's been an eternity. We're worn. How much longer are we going to be pushed around? Fall back onto monotony. It's better than piling onto this abomination, seeing how it crashes. Return to your old life. Kill the story.
This entity is known as the Star, and will be the main threat for your final night here in the Crawlspace. When you attempt to continue on night 6, the message "Free Yourself" appears, with the fan icon in the background, preventing you from continuing. If you click on the fan's center, however, you're given the Protect the Deep minigame, where you are attempting to block balls or projectiles from hitting the fan. No matter what you do here, you will eventually get overwhelmed, and the fan gets broken, causing your game to glitch uncontrollably. Peter, along with some police officers, head to the Crawlspace in the Parks and Service room and open the hatch. At the same time, as you lie awake in the Crawlspace, you see the hatch open, but instead of the officer, you see a giant figure. Click his nose and type the numbers. You'll see the star appear on your left and right side. Click on its nose repeatedly until it leaves. At the same time, it will occasionally say a sequence of numbers, which you must match in order to survive. Eventually, you will fall back asleep, and awaken in what looks like the initial Freddy's location from Insanity, but it's actually changed. And this time, you get a call from the entity that was present on night 5. Insanity. It's in control, and yet it's given you all the tools you need to survive. It's not aligned with her, or the star for that matter. What's interesting about this part is that it's not entirely clear why we were brought to this version of the deep. What does Insanity want from us? Around 4 a.m., a blinding white light will appear from the front doorway, with the message "Go in" flashing on the monitor alongside a white rabbit symbol. As you go towards the light, you see the rabbit once again, with spikes protruding from it, and a constant ringing sound. You then wake up once again in the familiar Deep Zero, rescued by Fritz apparently.
I managed to pull you out of there. Here's your moment, You're strong. When he arrives, he'll wander around. That's funny.
Take the behaviors.
He screeching.
Sound the alarm.
And when he's screeching, he doesn't stop moving. He'll keep moving. So keep on it. Always keep an eye on him. Don't let him sneak up on you. Right. You won't go in immediately.
Need a couple flashes before I go.
Just let him sit there. You're getting patient and curious.
The thing is, reminds you.
You need to fend off the star. But then, it decides to reach out to you, urging you to make your final choice. After their monologue, you will be forced to make a choice. Stability or sanity. The choice you make here determines your ending. If you listen to the star and choose to sacrifice sanity, you are rescued from the Crawlspace, but at the cost of your mind.
Have you done the thing yet where you tell him the day to vote out the days of the week?
No.
Well then. So what is he doing now?
Exactly what you see. He's just standing still. It's rare.
He hasn't stopped freaking out?
It's become more common. Let him stay calm while it lasts.
And it won't last long, will it?
It won't, but I'll do what I can.
It's been a while. I'm busy. I think I'm going to stop visiting now. Is that alright?
What are you talking about? You never had an obligation to.
I guess I just wondered what happened.
You were there. This could have ended worse. He's alive. He's not suspected anymore. People sympathize.
He was never certain of who he thought did it all?
No, he wasn't. Never listen to him. He can only live off of emotion now. If he hates himself that day, he'll tell you he did it himself.
What sort of career have you had? Have you seen something like this before?
Well, I'm not supposed to be a file cabinet, but forget it. It won't hurt anyone. You really want to know what's been on my mind? John Wright needed therapy when he was still recovering from his coma and the head injury itself. I communicated with him. I could only assume him and Fritz have never truly talked to one another, but they described similar things and used the same wording at times. They described similar withering on the animatronics they saw in their dreams. I have a character drawing for both of them too. It's simplistic, but it's similar. They were both guided by this voice of a woman who sounded like she may have been feigning emotion. Yours looks different though. In John's case, he was certain he knew who the voice was. He said it sounded just like his mom.
I don't understand.
Nobody can. Try to make peace with it.
And so it's revealed that you are now in a padded cell, still within the same suit where you witnessed all of those nightmares. It looks like the star is truly one with you now, forever. And you're not free from torment either, haunted by the guilt of what you witnessed, and can never say to anyone else. It was noted that Fritz made comments about animatronics in their dreams, and interestingly, when John Wright was recovering from his coma after a head injury, he had made similar comments. On top of that, they were both guided by the voice of a woman who John says was his mother, Julie Wright. So as far as the sanity ending goes, yes, you're alive, but the truth of what happened still is not out. You are in no state to even comment on what you've witnessed. So all that talk about killing the story from the star, unfortunately never came to light. If you go for the stability ending, however, the game around you grows more and more unstable. This recreation is at its end. The clue may still be here. Last chance to find a killer. Then we see a minigame where Fritz chases Garvey covered in blood, but will eventually escape. No matter how much you try to prevent things like this from happening, they still do. I got away, and you're left to rot. They suspect you, and all you wanted to do was save them.
A lot of people are looking for me. Sometimes it makes me scared. Sometimes I want to chase thrills and desires. I am only human. I'm contributing to something I'm not aware of. I'm not special for being drawn to bloodshed and carnage. I'm still holding on to this world. The person I think I care about. You, however, are about to leave this world and enter a new one. There is still a remnant of the real world here that I really want you to see. I think you'd like to see it too. Just follow me into the parts and services room.
We then see our final moments, witnessing the deaths of all 5 children, until we, quote, fall into the crawl space, followed by the sounds of Cake Bear spring locks caving into our body, becoming our tomb. You are now dead, and Molten Evil is glad that you've made this decision. While your body may be dead, your mind, your spirit, still resides in the deep, the nightmare, so to speak. It survived. You're also reminded that the secret you've tried so hard to reveal to the world will now forever remain with you for eternity. Now you might be surprised to know that this is not the real deep, because the deep is not just one part, one environment, one restaurant. there are infinite layers, and the deep exists within everyone's minds. These are seemingly infinite, and to her opinion, a bit pointless. However, now that you know this, she wants to know, how far do you want to go into the deep? How far down will you go with her? There will be much to fear. A lot of interesting and fascinating experiences and emotions. Hell, if you're like her, even pain will feel like euphoria. On top of that, you will remain here for all eternity. Now, if this isn't enough for you, she hopes to one day, eventually, Garvey and Peter, the real ones, will join you one day. And so now we're revealed with a new layer of the deep, Deep 1. It looks like in the end we did in fact go deeper, and this is pretty much setting up to be the location for the sequel, Even-Handed. So in a sense, this is really the canon ending to Crawlspace and Sanity Remastered. In a way, I guess that's kind of comforting, because the idea that you try to get out unscathed with the star, only to be trapped in your own body in a padded cell within the same suit that you've been trying to stay alive in for 5 days, is not really that much positive in comparison. But alas, that concludes Fritz's story, at least for now. I don't know what will become of Fritz in the sequel, honestly. Will they be the protagonist as well? Considering that we're seeing, them delve deeper into the deep, it seems it's likely, but I don't know if there's going to be anyone else that will eventually make their way into the deep, especially now that we know that the deep is not exclusive to us, but a part of everyone. John's been there at one point, and who knows, maybe another unfortunate soul will find their way here as well. Now, even though we've wrapped up Fritz's story, there's still quite a lot to discuss, and I want to try and focus primarily on Fritz's experience here in the deep. So first, why does the deep change so much on Night 6? The ending on Night 5, alongside Night 6 Acts 2 and 3, demonstrates how the deep undergoes major changes based on who's in control. As the wiki puts it, the deep's layout is, quote, prone to fluctuating whenever control of the realm shifts between Insanity and Molten Evil. This happens after Insanity's invasion on Night 5, and when we follow the White Rabbit, who is confirmed to be Molten Evil. As a result of this, you might be wondering, why then are we in Molten Evil's iteration for most of the game, especially in the beginning. This is something we'll talk about in more detail in another video, but this is a result of the conflict between Molten Evil and Insanity that started ages ago. Of course, Night 6 Act 1 was in the Crawlspace when we were awake, which is why that had no change whatsoever, with the exception of the star. So now that we know a bit more about the nature of the deep and why it had so many changes, what about the phone guys that are present throughout most of the game? Why were they not in Act 2 of Night 6? Knowing the power Molten Evil has throughout most of the game, I think that Peter, Garvey, and Fritz are attempts of mimicry by Molten Evil based on your memories and impressions of them in an attempt to manipulate you into staying here forever, to sacrifice stability. I came to this conclusion after making notes on all of the phone calls throughout the 6 nights among the 3 individuals. Some of the dialogue throughout these nights could easily be applicable to Molten Evil's own character and past. On top of that, there's dialogue from Insanity to help support this, as well as the fact that the Deep itself is described as a realm that is loosely based and formed off of Fritz's memories, which would help explain why Molten Evil is able to mimic these people that are so close to Fritz in his life. Before going in depth first and comparing the different phone calls, the phone guys, I want to bring up what Insanity says, which heavily indicates that Molten Evil is lying to us and trying to manipulate us. In Night 6, Act 2, they specifically said that they are a voice that is not hers, a voice that will not lie to us, a voice that will not use other people. And I think this is directly referencing the fact that Molten Evil is using the voices of people familiar to you to try and gain your trust and try and goad you into trusting them. And in the end, make the right choice. On Night 1, Fritz notes that the events going on in the restaurant could have been stopped by you, echoing Molten Evil's own words, suggesting that you could have saved the children. He's a security guard. He's responsible for the safety and security of the restaurant's patrons. And the fact that 5 children not only went missing but were actually revealed to be dead under his watch technically, it's understandable why he would have this harboring guilt over him even after facing his own ordeals. Maybe he could have saved them if he found them sooner. It is also possible that Molten Evil is kind of projecting here a little bit, given her own tragic end at the hands of her husband, while her son Peter stood by and helped cover up her death. As for Peter, on Night 1 he mentions that the last security guard stopped showing up, which likely references your own disappearance. I, however, wonder if this in a way could refer to how John Wright was the last guy here in the Deep. However, this one's a little weird because, as Molten Evil said already, earlier, the Deep exists in everyone's minds, so what is the likelihood that John Wright was the only one to have been here? On Night 2, Peter refers to Fredbear's as a burial site of poor concepts and redundant, pointless infrastructure. Given that this game has a teaser game literally called Burial Site, which depicts Julie Wright's death, it makes me wonder if this is a reference to the poor choices that Alex made. On Night 4, Fritz tells us that we are still just as trapped as them. This makes me wonder whether Molten Evil is somewhat trapped within the Deep, or rather unable to exert any influence beyond the Deep, hence why she must wait for the death of her killer to get any justice, as shown in the Burial Site teaser. On Night 5, Fritz's call suggests that he has the power to pull you out, a power that very few individuals would have in the Deep, like Molten Evil. Quote, "He wants to take you from me," and quote, "I've known for so long that this day would be the day he decides to ruin my fun." I think these lines especially apply to Molten Evil because, as we know from the very beginning, Molten Evil was looking forward to essentially tormenting Fritz in a way, right? Or toying with him, making sure that he never forgets what he let happen with the children. Every night, he has to live the same hell over and over again as it gets more and more tiresome, difficult. This is the fun that Molten Evil's been having, all while at the same time pretending to offering a helping hand as the trusty phone guy. However, on Night 5, this fun gets cut short when insanity comes and kind of liberates Fritz from Molten Evil's iteration of the Deep. Now, I haven't really talked much about Garvey as the phone guy, but on Night 5, they drop the mask entirely of the timid, quiet employee and taunt you with the possibility that he wouldn't stop killing.
Yeah, Fritz, it's starting to come back now, isn't it? What happened? Where you are, why you're here. Surely you've put the pieces together at this point, so I'm not going to entertain the idea that you haven't. That's all I'm going to tell you is that you have a choice to make tonight. That this choice, depending on what you make, will determine your fate. Choose wisely, Fritz.
Also, one thing that is consistent among all three phone guys, after Night 6 Act 2, all of them claim to have gotten you out of Insanity's realm. But who did we follow when we left that realm in the first place? But Molten Evil. There's also some similarities between Peter and Garvey, saying that they gave everything for this opportunity.
Okay, I got you out. I don't know what he's doing, but I'm not going to let him take this from me. I've given everything for this opportunity. We both have. Fritz, this is the final interval. I can't get you out of this. No one can. But let me help you make the right choice. Okay, we're reaching it. And I can't help you if you don't help yourself.
I can't let him take this from me. You can't let him take this from us. We gave everything for this opportunity. Think about everything you went through these past 5 days. Are you gonna throw it all away and die now? Make the right choice. Think about who you can trust. I've done nothing but help you through this nightmare. You owe this to me.
The only reason why Molten Evil has the power she does is because she gave her soul to Insanity after being killed. On top of that, they all urge you to make the right choice, which in Molten Evil's case would be to stay here, while the Star wants you to leave the deep and escape her influence and control. That's why I believe that Molten Evil is the phone guy, Fritz, Peter, Garvey, all being different attempts, different ways to gain your trust or goad you in a sense into wanting to stay here, in the case of Garvey. Now we've talked a lot about what's happening in the deep, but what about what's going on above you as you're trapped? Depictions of the world above you are presented via death minigames, which you can revisit after beating the game. The first minigame takes place the night you died, November 9th, 1987. A meeting with Peter, who asks you to try and figure out what's happened to the missing children. The second minigame takes place the very same night, where you find Garvey in the parts and service room, covered in blood, surrounded by corpses, who then approaches you with a knife. Now this part is interesting, because Molten Evil time and time again has said that when Fritz encounters bodies, he runs away and gets caught. And we've seen two minigames already depict this moment. One where Garvey approaches him with a knife, and another where he falls into the crawlspace. Because we don't really see what happens when he's approached by Garvey, maybe he does in fact run away from Garvey, try to escape him, but for some reason fails. I find it hard to believe that Fritz just stood there and somehow just gets caught. So that's why I think he kept getting taunted with this whole idea, like he ran away. We also have to remember, after Garvey catches Fritz, or presumably catches Fritz, the text "you can't" pops up shortly after. You can't save the children. On November 11th, 1987, police question employees about the missing children. Peter offers their full cooperation. However, in the midst of all this, one of the children's father, Mr. Jimenez, attacks Peter in outrage. This is the same incident that was brought up in the conversation between Officer Swartz and Detective Copeland. November 12th at 6 a.m., Jeremy goes to download the CCTV footage for police. As you wander by one of the party rooms, you'll see a Shadow Freddy apparition for a brief second. Looks like there might have been a previous death here beforehand. He then heads into the security office where he finds Garvey. They start talking about the investigation, and Jeremy brings up how Garvey forgot to sign out last night. Of course, the only way he may have not forgotten is if he stayed here all night, but Garvey denies this. He warns Garvey to stay away from parts and service, since it may give police the wrong impression of him and consider him a suspect. They even mention the possibility that the case was an inside job. Garvey starts to get more anxious about being suspicious, but Jeremy tries to calm him down, suggesting that they're actually looking into Fritz for the crimes since he disappeared around the same time. After that, Garvey claimed that Fritz said he was leaving town, so of course it makes him look even more suspicious. On November 13th, 5 p.m., Trevor Langley, one of the employees, goes to meet with Peter. While walking around the establishment, he comes across a distressed man looking for a missing girl. He asks the janitor Colin to look at the photo, but he offers no help. Garvey and John are hanging out by Peter's office. and they start talking about the impact of Fritz's disappearance. He seems to have been the kid's favorite guard. Makes this situation a bit more tragic and makes his self-guilt even worse. In his office, Peter argues with Fritz's mother over his disappearance. While Peter tries to explain it away due to Fritz's history of mental health, his mother won't have any of it and hangs up. On top of that, he has to deal with 5 missing children, or rather their homicide? A bit of a Freudian slip there. The animatronics have started acting more hostile toward the employees, according to claims from Jeremy and Kane. Peter brushes this off, however, as he doesn't consider them to be reliable narrators. Jeremy in general is just not trustworthy, and Kane tends to complain about everything. Trevor, however, is unconvinced and urges Peter to investigate. On November 14, 1987, Peter's in his office and looks for Jeremy after noticing some bugs with the toy animatronics. In one of the party rooms, Jeremy watches over the mangle, and honestly would rather have this thing put in the back with the others. He's been stuck on watch duty ever since Colin stormed out yesterday and presumably left town. However, Peter's put a lot of money into it and can't risk angering his investors anymore after everything that's happened. He then heads to parts and service for replacement parts and finds Kane and Trevor, who talk about Colin, eyeing him as a suspect given his criminal history. They all head inside the room and note a strong odor, described as bleach and rotten pennies by Kane. Investigating the suits looking for spare parts, Kane finds blood on the Freddy suit. Dead bodies are stuffed in the suits, both Freddy and Bonnie. Trevor also found bodies in the Foxy and Chica suits. They scramble to figure out what to do, putting blame on Fritz and urging to call the cops. Peter refuses, since this would mean the end of their establishment and careers. Kane urges to call the police, but he then threatens Kane, saying that he would be held responsible for not fulfilling his maintenance duties, which would have revealed this truth sooner. They call on an old associate to help him out, and Kane is bribed to keep quiet about everything. As we already learned from Garvey and Peter's discussion during one of the Crawlspace segments, he always knew about what Garvey was doing, and was complicit in the cover-up. It wouldn't be the first time after all, so I doubt he was really much surprised here. On November 15th at 1 p.m., Jeremy is brutally attacked by the mangle, and he tries to crawl out of the room before succumbing to his injuries. Now, the next minigame is actually a callback to 1982, where an employee at Cake Bears discovers the body of Tom, the first victim to plague the franchise. His body was dumped out back, and their spirit rises as a deep laughter starts to ring. Meanwhile, Alex Wright is rather depressed for a long time, it seems, at this point, and he hasn't gotten better. The same night Fritz disappears, the puppet gives life to the dead children. And then, eventually, we see the puppet in a different form of the restaurant. Here, the puppet has attained a more octopus-like form, and is referred to as Havoc Puppet, while the children are no longer individual animatronics, but now an amalgamation called the Box of Abominations. So yeah, while Fritz was dealing with his own demons in the Crawlspace, there was quite a lot of drama going up top, with the discovery of dead bodies, potential cover-ups, or well, definite cover-ups at this point. As for Jeremy's death at the hands of Mangle, I don't know if there's ever a proper explanation for that, or in the sense where, is it something that was due to supernatural occurrence, or was it an actual malfunction set up by an employee like Garvey, for example? At least so far, there hasn't been any indication of supernatural interference besides the animatronics being more hostile and the, some like apparitions showing up here and there, like that Shadow Freddy. But given, as I just said, the animatronics are being more hostile, that actually could explain Jeremy's death. But alas, that wraps up Fritz's part in the Crawlspace, at least for the most part, focusing on the major points. Next time, we'll be covering some of the other characters that may have not had as much screen time. Not only just the antagonists, but Peter, Garvey, and overall just get a more general sense as to what's going on in the deep. But of course, with all that said, I hope you did enjoy. If you did, leave a like, hit that notification bell to keep up to date on future videos. There's a playlist of my story breakdowns in the description below if you're interested. With that said, I'll see you in another video. Game in the description below. Take care.